fine moment it is for us here on Classic FM, and you're welcome to the Discourse. I'm Sulaiman Lede. It's a fine time because this is the time that everyone in Nigeria is looking back to our democracy, looking back to our national issues, to the extent that Africans and the rest of the world have been speaking and talking about so much about Nigeria. The conversation has been going on right here on Classic FM and across the media platform and so many other places. A lot of people have been talking about the gains and if there are pains. But today on the Discourse, we have chosen to look at Nigeria's national development journey in its democracy quite differently. A lot of people have always talked about the executive arm of government, also talk about the judiciary, and even especially the representatives. Now we're talking about the legislature. But today we're trying to look at that very unit that makes up a nation, that makes up our polity, and that's the family. If the family has any role whatsoever, perhaps if we should go back looking at family values of the past and even the present, and see if we can project into the future, that may also help us in molding better leaders who would ultimately obey and also formulate policies and laws that will help a better nation. So today I'm excited because this has been a conversation we've been building for weeks. I think we've had this conversation since 2020, and myself and my guests, we had to do a build-up leading up to this very moment. He's not a politician, so whatever we'll be talking about is looking at how we can get our nation running. Shouldn't we be talking about ourselves? Shouldn't we be talking about our home? Shouldn't we be talking about where we're from? Shouldn't we be talking about our own children and how we have raised our children, or how we're raising our children? So today I'm excited to have retired Commander Oluseyi Sosan with me on the program. Good to have you with me, Commander Sosan.
Thank you very much once again, Sulaiman.
As I said, a lot of people, they know that this conversation has been since 2020. We've always had this conversation, and I said, yes, I know you're not a politician, but this is something many people have seen you, talk about at different fora, religious and non-religious fora, and quite interestingly, even within the Muslim group and Christian groups. So I felt that some of the key things, because if you look at some of the developments we have had as a nation, you're forced, to ask the question, where are you from? Sometimes you go, what kind of upbringing do you have? The other time we saw a senator, who was molesting more or less like, a woman at a shop. And we've also seen people say so many unkind words to people who they should be representing. And that is why today we say, as Nigeria celebrates democracy, there's no better time for us to go back and start looking at the family. And I'm happy because you're a parent. I'm one, and a lot of people listening and those that will be watching us later on our YouTube channel will also understand what exactly this conversation is about. So once again, welcome to the program, and let's start by talking about, I like to go back, I like to do a rewind. Let's start by looking at our parents. In this case, I'll be going back like twice, because when I say our parents, we'll be hearing from you, and it's like going back twice to my great-grandfather. So how was it like growing up?
Well, thank you very much, Sulaiman. growing up was very, very, very important in the family. In our time, compared to what I see these days, our growing up was so strictly monitored. What I mean by that is that it's not just your father or your mom, not only your parents, neighbors, house helps also are made to help make you to become somebody that is very, very useful in the home and also will be useful to society in the future. I remember my late mom would tell us that the house, in fact, number one, in our home, there is no house help. You dare not call them by name. It's either uncle that or auntie that. And that's the way we are trained. So there's no how you can look down on them as if they are just servants in the house.
There's no way you look down on them.
Not at all. Because even the cane, your father or your mom will give them the cane. So if you are naughty, they have a right to beat you.
So they can discipline you?
Oh, of course they can. Very, very well. You know something after that? You beg them not to report you to your parents when they come back home. It was that very, very, very significant way of bringing us up. I remember my sister, and another thing is that languages in the home. When I want to tell you, you ask me, do you want a cup of Ovaltine? I can't say no. It's not possible. No thanks. If I want it, yes please, uncle. Yes please, auntie. That's how it is. So there is no how you should exercise that rudeness to people who are around you. Then the neighbors also. Unlike now, I see that parents who say, I did not give my child's whip to you. Who ask you to help me to discipline my child? Our days, it wasn't like that. You can be flogged by anybody. You can be asked to stoop down, face the corner, raise your leg. In our days. So you see, the way I grew up, talking to an elderly person, I don't put my hand on my side. I put my hand behind me. And you bend your head. But these days you see children stand up on hips firm and talk directly and look at you directly in the eyes. It's a very sad thing that I see around, and I'm not happy about it.
You know, the watching you speak and the expression, I can see how disappointed you are. But again, what also comes to mind is that parents who were children back then are now parents today, and some of them are also the same people doing things quite differently. Some of them didn't copy from their parents. They're also the ones talking about house helps, treating them, for instance, like slaves, and also warning neighbors and people around. I've been trying to read up things about you, and some of those key things are things that will also draw up on this in this conversation. Once your dad was transferred and you were not done with your schooling in Ondo State, right? And you were asked to stay with a family friend. A friend, not even a family.
No, family friend.
So then even friends can actually look out after people's children.
That's what I've been telling you.
That's how serious and the kind of confidence you have in people around you.
We fear most. Reverends. Uncles, aunties. Because well, let's go ahead.
No. I think because I wanted this to come to the fore, because you keep wondering when you hear people speak, especially those in leadership position, they speak, and you keep asking, how were they raised? How was I raised? From where did we get it all wrong? Because some of the things you mentioned are also cultural, and these culture aren't things that are bad. Some of them are meant to actually make us a better, people. To the extent that some of the key things we're seeing today, that people just want to amass undue wealth. People want to steal. People want to take things that are not theirs. People want to tell lies. People want, on and on. Now, you said something about language. And the kind of language must be that of respect and, must also be mild when applied. Let's talk more about the home. Today, we know that almost everybody is busy.
Yes.
And back in the day, in as much as both parents can be so busy, they still found time to inculcate some form of discipline in their children.
That's right.
Help us here. How were they able to juggle between their busy nature and also caring for these children who have turned out to be, great men and women today?
Yes. Like I said earlier on, parents don't stay at home all the time. Even till today, most parents don't stay at home with their children. So the basic thing to do is to make sure you put a fear in your child, because you can't bring them up alone. It's not possible. Either in school, the neighbors have a big role to play. Those who live with you at home have a big role to play on your children if you want them to be good. But you see, I found that some parents listen to their children against the house help and just treat the house help without confirming from them whether what that child said to them is true or false. My mother never treated us that way. And I learned from her. Also my dad. If you come, Sulaiman, if you come and tell me now that one of your colleagues here says so about me, I'm going to tell him, okay, I've heard you. Even when I was in Navy, I do that a lot. You are going to stand, and I'm going to press the bell and call that person up. And two of you will stand, and I will ask you to repeat what you just said to me now. If you start stammering, then I know that you had come to tell a lie. Now, what do you want to gain from that? You want me to hate that person and like you? You see all the selfishness and all this attitude that are very rampant in us. But then, let me chip in something. One of my siblings was carrying our mother somewhere, and she was driving, and my mom sat next to her in the front. And there was this downful driver that just crossed her, the way they do their things. And she said, well, don't let me use it. Is your head correct? My mother looked at her. I said, I beg your pardon? What did you just say? She said, Mommy, that's the language you understand. She asked her to pack the vehicle. You know what my mother did? She came down, took her handbag and took a taxi.
And left her?
Left her to where they were going to. When she came there, she was made to kneel down for more than 45 minutes explaining where she learned that language from. She told my mother that's the language you understand. But the fact remains that that is the language they understand. But then, where did you hear that language from? Who taught you that language? And why are you using such a foul language? We dare not, Sulaiman. We dare not. You can't just. So when I look at these days, like you ask a question, say, how come we that grew up that way? Do you know I know how to grind pepper on the grinding stool?
I wouldn't be surprised.
Of course I do. The only thing I don't allow them to give me to grind is the onion, because I'm very allergic to the onion. So my punishment sometimes is my mother will cut an onion and ask me to go and bring it. I can't touch it. I'll be crying, and that's my punishment. It's that. How come their parents taught them that way? They inculcate the same thing into us. And I can tell you, I'm putting it in my children also. They are not. My children, they are not be rude to people. One of my daughter tried it, and I called the person in, and I cut whip. Said you should give her 6 lashes, whether you want it on your right hand or left hand. You must take the 6 on one hand. And the fellow will lift up the whip from that height and bring it down and just touch her. He did it the first time. The second time, I got the whip and I gave him bam, bam, bam. He said, "Sir, what did I do?" I said, "No, I'm not asking you to help me to pamper my child. I'm training my child. So do what I asked you to do. She was rude to you, discipline her." It was then he did the right thing. How many parents will do that?
So now this brings us to relationship between, neighbors, how we live amongst our neighbors.
Yes,
is very important for us to also look at that. Our neighbors, our immediate neighbor, will also explain how we also see our neighbors from afar, to the extent that if tomorrow, if I don't have good relationship with my neighbors, if I get into a position of leadership, I might not also see the need for me to have such kind of good relationship with people, under my command or within my jurisdiction, or as they say, constituency. So neighbors, how was it like, or how are we expected to have a cordial relationship with neighbors in our today's world, in comparison, with what it was while you were growing up?
Well, basically, I think the first thing is trusting one another. But you see, either because of the series of crime and robberies all over the places, most compounds these days are fenced. Those days are what I'm telling you about.
Is there a problem with the fencing of our compounds?
Yes, now there is the big problem, Sulaiman. You see, if I can look at your compound and you can look at mine, how do you allow my children to misbehave? You will see them if I can see them. And the next thing you do is to notify me. And secondly, there will be fear in every one of the children, that every child will be very afraid that what I'm doing, am I being seen? It's not what it's not like something we used to do in those days. We call it buju buju, ororombo, this hide and seek thing. No, that was a game. This is real. So I find that labor leaders have become a thing of the past.
A thing of the past?
Of course, a thing of the past. A thing of the past. How many families, how many of us relate with neighbors? Is it because of pride or what? See, there are rich people those days, very extremely rich people, well known. I'm just talking about Lagos generally. And there are also people that are not rich. And they all live in the same community. And they interact. How do they achieve this? Where have we gone wrong? Who started it? Which family started it? If you train your child the way your dad and your mom brought you up, and you pass it on to that child, and you put your eyes down and see that child does what you're asking, how do you think that child will derail? It's not possible. I'm talking about, look, I knew my grandfather. I knew my mom and dad. I knew my aunties and my uncles. My cousins. First cousins, second cousins, third cousins. Why is it that when our children are together, they behave the right way? How come? I mean, let's think deeply.
Because really, I think you've raised a big point here. How well do we know our neighbors? I'll give you a small scenario. I'm also guilty, but I tried as much as possible to say hello and go beyond hello to those people who keep the ones we call Megad, the gate men. I greet maybe 2, 3, 4 on my left and on the right, to the extent that sometimes when I blare the horn before my gate is opened, I see someone coming from the next to help me. So I stopped saying this young man. This is something that just happened recently, and I asked the other man, I said, Joshua, I stopped saying this other man, how far? He said, okay, you don't go village, you don't go back. And it's because I took interest in knowing him. But beyond that, I don't know too well the people living in the house.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where he keeps watch.
Yes.
So you're right.
Yes. The only word to that is that you don't discriminate. You don't show class. You see, this issue of class is another thing that is ruining our society. My mother will tell you, these children that are here, can you do this, do this, do this, do this, do this? No, you can't. Somebody must be there to assist and help.
Let me quickly give the numbers out, because I see some few messages coming in on WhatsApp. And for you to be a part of this, in celebrating Nigeria's democracy, looking at our national history and how we can actually get back on course, we decided to look at the family unit today. And my guest today is retired Commander Oluseyi Sosan. And of course, we're looking at something very beautiful, to the extent that listening to him, you just find the part where it relates to you. And if you need to work on that, you should work on that. And I've started seeing contributions, one from Abu Atena. Before I take that, Abu, allow me to give the numbers. It's 0909 217 2973, 0909 217 2973. That's the WhatsApp line for you to send messages. And quickly here, this one from Abu. Abu says, we got it all wrong when we decided to throw our natural traditional ways in total embrace of the ways of the white man. We lost our language, we lost our tradition, our religion. Our community is what you just talked about. And our community is the neighborliness and people around us. Our community and culture, because of the foreign ways we see our own way as evil. The fact remains that the owner of the ways we're copying know that we can never be like them. At the end, we'll be worse off for the whole, use the word copy that we have decided to embrace. Thank you, Abu. Then someone again is listening from Delta State. Kowalensky says to Commander Sosan, why was it hard for the people in his generation to transfer that wonderful upbringing he talks about into management of public institutions, especially public funds? I say this because I grew up in Festac in the 80s, and it was more of a communal society where we lived for each other. But the recklessness and indiscipline of leaders over the years have stretched this generation, that family values have been eroded. And sadly, this generation that is the victim are always the ones to be blamed, just like our guest is doing now, that you're blaming this present generation. I don't think he has said anything about putting the blame on this present generation. We're just looking at what's wrong, and pretty much later we'll talk about solutions to all of that. So I want you, I'll take one more, then I want you to react to that. And this is from Lolade. Lolade said, we need to reinforce our moral value. And I still influence some of the things being discussed on my children: discipline and value. So as some people are still doing it, and this is more like a reminder. And of course, for parents, listen to Kowalensky. I want you to react to that, because he's really worried, and I think that I'm as worried as Kowalensky. growing up, some of these things, we all grow up in a community. We live a communal life. In the quarters then, back in the day, everyone came to that Christmas party.
Yes.
No one asked if you were a Muslim.
At all.
No one asked why you were there.
Yes.
Just get your dress, well, and come, and it's a beautiful party, and everyone went home with their presents. So Kowalansky said, now everything has disappeared. I just don't want to jump the gun, start talking about the problems. I still want us to still talk about some of those values. Then maybe at exactly, in the next 5 minutes, we can start talking about some key solutions and looking at the future. So this other one here from Stanley says, God bless you, sir. What you're saying is the truth. The problem is the class issue. Parents are showing class to their children these days, unlike before.
Yes.
You agree?
I agree. I totally agree with that. I totally agree with that.
Because the issue of the maids or the house helps resonates with a lot of us. Yes, and today we've seen some parents, and they will be very, very open, and they'll say it with pride that I was a house help to so and so family, and you'll be amazed because they turned out becoming fantastic people in the society. But it's not usually the case today. We usually don't get to see people treat these people as if they are members of your family.
I tell my children this: you never know where you will need these people tomorrow, whether I'm alive or gone, because you don't know where the destiny will lead you to. So treat them as your brother and your sister, because what they are doing for us, you, our children, can do half of it. What is half? Quarter of it you can do. They are here to help us, help you also, and make you live in it. I don't want to talk about it. We're on the air, okay? But I know what my ancestors did to those who came to their place as servants, in quotes. But that language is not part of our, in my home. There's something like servant. Up to the point that they send them to school, train them and their children. Why? They are not different. They are not different at all. And some of these children have met those that their parents helped. They had been in a position, just as this fellow said, and they have helped them.
Just June 12, Kola Abiola, I was privileged to be in an event with Kola Abiola, the eldest son to the winner of that 1993 election. And do you know what he said? He said, I was in the same school with the children of our driver. And it stuck. And I said, wait a minute. He was in the same school as, his father's driver children. So now talking about some of those reactions we got from some of our listeners talking about class, which you also highlighted, is also, bad family upbringing. When you bring up the issue of class to your children, for them to understand that you're not, because as children growing up, you don't even know the difference between you and the next child. You just know that that's your friend. You don't know whether your friend is poor, whether your friend's father is well-to-do or not. So it is us parents who try as much as possible to now start instilling that bad thing into them and say, hey, I don't want to see you with this person. It's not on the same level with you.
Look, the Queen of England, hasn't she got royalty? She has it. The whole world knows, don't they? Which school did Prince Charles go to? Is there no Eton College? No. She sent Charles to a public school. You know what she told her son? Those are the people you are going to rule tomorrow. Go there and see what they are and what they are suffering. Look at all her children. Forget that the husband was in the Navy. No. every son of ours went into one unit or the other. I remember, I can't remember his name now, I think in the 80s, either 82 or so, 81 or 82. And he was it Afghanistan? Somewhere. And they wanted to go and bring him out from there and bring him back to England. The mother insisted that all the children that are fighting for this country, are they different?
You know, how well our parents, I'm trying, because I have a story, and it might also interest you that I was able to get this. I'm trying to find out how far, parents can go in instilling discipline in their children. My conversation with someone, I won't reveal that person, said that at a point in time, you did something really, really bad, and your father said that he was going to send you to Topo. Is it Topo?
Topo?
Yes, somewhere in Badagry. And I understand that's a boys' juvenile home. Maybe you want to take us through what happened then.
Sulaiman, you have been Googling. Tell me, who says this? Anyway.
I'll tell you that when we get off air. But again, because that is really amazing. I'll let you explain. When you're done, I'll tell you my own story. Once I was so disciplined that I thought that this is not my mom.
Same thing with me.
You felt so bad, like, are you sure that they actually gave birth to me?
Yes, my father was a very strict disciplinarian, at the same time very loving. I misbehaved. I was very rascally, Suleiman. I'm very troublesome, rascally. Just use anything. Those days we young boys in Lagos here, there are offenses you commit, and if they catch you, they send you to welfare. Welfare is at Iju, and on Sundays at Birel in Sabo, they march those children in brown khaki short and a white shirt, and they parade them on the street on Sundays. For the reason why? For all the children to learn from them. They march you and you go back.
It's almost like what was here today to say, name to shame and name to fame. If you did well, we name you to make you feel good, and if you did badly, we name you and so that the shame can.
Yes.
So they did that back in the day.
My father said he was going to send me to Topo. Topo is the highest prison for children.
For boys.
For boys and girls too. And he will tell you, I'm sending you to Topo, you'll be drinking gari with coconut. He meant it.
I've always known that gari and coconut was punishment.
Punishment too. You eat that every time. No rice again, no jollof rice. Nothing. You start looking at mommy's stew and you can't touch it. You can't even see it. No. I don't know whether it still exists. I know the one at Yaba is still there. Remand home, they call it. Remand home.
But really, I don't know. I'm still thinking, what were parents made of then? That you will look your child in the eye and you will bring them up and bring them out and say, no, my child stole. I want you to discipline him.
Yes.
I was going through my child's books and I found this, then it's a reading text, but then we used to call them back in the day reader. And I found this reader in his or her bag. I can't remember me buying this. And the teacher would say, oh, we were looking for this then. And you come publicly and you'll be flogged,
Honestly, Sulaiman, this program should last for 4 hours for us to talk about.
I sincerely agree with it because some of these things. Sorry to cut you now. Some of these things that is almost like now we don't name to shame, we don't punish. Instead, we reward.
Sometimes when you look at some parents now, the way they dress. When you look at some parents, you wonder how will you correct your child? And I tell you something, children are very wise. They are very intelligent and very clever. They pick on things, they see things, and you think they don't know or they don't see. They do. And whatever they copy like your fellow say copy. Whatever the copy is they will think it is right. I mean, you look at the old school parents and you are looking at the new school parents today. Why? And when you look at this new school parent and she tells you or he tells you about his or her own parents, they will be like the parents that I had. I wrote my father a letter from India. I said to him, my father, when you were training me, I always say you are not my father. And I meant it then. The moment I hear my father driving, I run away to go and hide. If he calls me Olu. But when my father says Oluseyi,
in full,
trouble don't start. Trouble, I know that there is something, I've done something wrong. There were a lot of pranks we played. I wrote my father that letter because I was in India doing my training. It was a Sunday like this. On Sundays in India, Nigerians don't have food to eat at the dining hall because they eat their meals. On Friday it is the Muslim that slaughter animals, and on Friday we don't eat meat. Only fish you can get. India, they respect their religion and their tradition.
Yeah, certainly.
Strictly, very strictly. You can't compromise it at all. There was no breakfast, no lunch. I went to the class, I took a writing pad, and I wrote my father with tears in my eyes. I closed my eyes, I look home. On Sunday, they are back from church. My mom must have brought out fried soup, rice, this, all assorted things, and look at me, nothing to eat. And I said, my father, that time you were bringing me up, I thought you were not my father. But I never knew you were training me for the future. I was already in the Navy then. So you can imagine me telling my father that. He got that letter, sent it, wrote and replied me and said, Oluseyi, I'm happy you know that I was training you. I mean, my dad would pick me up. Then I was with the Oyewole brothers, the twins in Abeokuta. He would just drop you and tells you, Oluseyi, bye-bye, go, be a good boy. He's gone until you're on holidays again. I don't see him again. But he doesn't play with your pocket money. Everything will be there for you. But that thing, for you to know that it is not everything that glitter that is gold. It is you don't show that you are born with a silver spoon in your mouth. No. We were taught that way.
Someone, I think we will start talking about how we can reverse the trend. And Conrad from Alimosho has sent in this, and he said the leadership and the followership have a lot to do. Listening to you. Civic education and history expunged from the curriculum, and even in family units, there's peer pressure. A brother does not freely allow his children mix with his sister's children. No family meetings to even bond. All of these have been taken off. That's from Conrad. And we also have another one. I think Kamalansky also sent in something here, and he said, from my perspective, the most important place to start solving the issue is our educational system. Right from kindergarten, he's talking about catching them young. Right from kindergarten up to tertiary, we must adopt a curriculum and educational philosophy that will instill in our children and youth the character we want to see in them. He went further. In quote, he wrote, the Ajebota and Ajekpako phenomenon is a global one, but government builds the balance. Hence, the system that brings about some sort of pressure on both parents and their children. Well, I think Kamalansky, someday you and I will fight your long essays. But he's made a fantastic point, and which is very, very important here. And another one here from Tayo. Tayo says, my name is Tayo. Reminds home. Okay. I think Tayo, I think he's talking about remand home Isheri Makbara. Most boxes like Obisaya Wankpa pass through Isheri and Birel in Sabo Yaba.
That's right.
So he's just reminiscing some of the key things you said. So I think I got the picture now.
You come out a good boy and a good girl. You don't want to go back there again. You can't even go back there, Suleiman. You know, in the streets of Lagos, if you throw a stone to pluck this almond fruit on the road and they catch you up, you are going there. They don't want to know about your parents because they believe that if your parents have touched you, you will not be caught doing the wrong thing that they against the law on the streets. Look at drugs being taken by children.
Yeah.
These days. And when I sit down and I look at this, I wonder, when I pass on the streets and I see people, you see, they call them area boys. No, they are not area boys, they are miscreants. We are the area boys. Because those days in campus, Lafiaji in Lagos here, we know what we are made of. But we play our game in a neat way. We play football, we do everything, we play pranks.
There's another message here from Doris Yagbon Osawe. He says, I'm over 70 years old. He's listened to us, and I'm a witness to the sorrowful decline. Commander Sosan has said, civilization is one of our problems which emanated from conflict of culture. The desire to belong to the modern people brought down our own moral standard. I'm happy that people across all ages, for us to have Pai Doris Yagbon, who is over 70, listening to also sending a message from Ijeguin Alimosho. We'd like to say thank you very much for being a part of this program and also reminiscing with us. As I said, this is something that we've been working on with Commander Sosan here since 2020, and as is rightly said, 1 hour can't be enough. It's something that I'm almost losing my fluency, in trying to, gauge what you have been talking about. Some of them we're guilty of. Some of them we still can see. When you talk about problems you can relate with in your present day life, it worries you. So after this, I want us to quickly see if we can start talking about the solutions. And this one here from Honda Simo says, I remember when we were in school in those days, we used to have a subject called moral instructions. As of today, it's no longer in the curriculum. So do you think the parents or the family needs help, from the school?
In the morning when you wake up and you dress your children, you go to school, it is expected that it's not just English, arithmetic, and what call it anything you want to say. Part of it is seeing your child behave rightly in school, wearing the correct uniform. Those days they will turn you back if you are not well dressed from the gate. If you are late, you'll be disciplined. I see children going to school 9:30, 9:15, walking anyhow, no fear of. There was a scholars bus in Lagos those days. When we were going to school, they call it scholars bus. If you miss the scholars bus, or you are in another bus, like the Sapas, Nigerian Sapas, or who they later become LS something, I can't remember the name anymore. There was Benson, and there was Shinowo buses. If you see an adult standing and you sit, you have to stand up and tell Ewajokoma, please come and sit. Nobody will do that these days. He's going to tell you, is it not my money that I paid? Suleiman, we have derailed.
No doubt.
We have totally derailed, and the entire blame is on the parents. Because for me, I believe that anything that can change this thing must start from the home first. Home is the yolk. And you know the yolk in an egg is very important. It is not the white. It's that particular, is that one just to protect it. It's the yolk that comes and hatch and turns to a chick. So we must start from home. Mm-hmm. Those days when they ring the bell in the morning by 5 a.m., we know what it means. You all gather together in the sitting room or wherever you've been chosen, and you have a family prayer. In the evening before you go to bed, you pray again. They monitor your books from school. Somewhere around Ajele Street here, behind the Shetelu they call it, we used to have a man there who was very close to my late grandfather. Papa Shetelu, we called him. We used to go and stay with him and play. And Papa Shetelu will make you to fast during the Ramadan. Otherwise, you know what's going to happen? When they kill the ram after the Ramadan, they will not give you a piece of meat. I'm not a Muslim, I'm a Christian. That's to show you the interaction our parents had.
And as long as you're there, though your parents were Christian, they will not come and warn him and say, why are you saying my child must fast?
No, there was nothing like that. And it's vice versa. It's just like that. So we have to start from the home. Very, very important. There's nothing we can do except from the home. When you look at all these people on the streets, you see a bus driver, downfall driver, just putting on singlet, nothing on. Is Ghana not West Africa? Why are they not doing what we are doing? Why do you go to Adekunle bus stop if you are except you are standing on the line before the traffic light? Otherwise, if you are not, there is a space, you see this downfall will go and cross the red light. You can try that in Ghana. You see, Nigerians can be very disciplined. Look at the time of Murtala Mohammed. How come people sat up? We all sat up in this country. We know about it. We know what it means. Everybody was at alert. Why is it that when a Nigerian leaves Lagos and he crosses into Seme and enter Cotonou, he becomes disciplined? Why? They obey their laws, they do everything. The moment he comes back and heading to Badagry, he starts to misbehave. I mean, what's wrong with the discipline? To show you that we know what to do, we just don't want to do it. And why are we not doing it? Because there is nobody to enforce it. Like my parents enforced discipline into me, and I am doing the same thing with my children, and my cousins, my siblings are doing so same thing with their children. If only everyone is doing the same thing, you'll be afraid. I chip in this little thing. Myself as a friend, you know, those days we play some pools, this football pool, and I won money. I think £10.
That was big money there.
Big money, oh. And I wanted to buy something. I didn't know. I mean, where will I tell my mother that I got the money from, or my dad? You know what I did? I started giving that money to some friends to keep for me. If I want to buy something, 5 shillings, I come to you, let me have out of that money. I can't take it home. They are going to ask me where I got the money from. And if I said I want it, tell me, you know what it is. I was already grown up. A grown up. I had left school. But I was staying where my mother was living. That fear was still in me at adulthood. Why are people still not having this fear? Even if our parents are gone, we are living.
Even if our parents are gone.
We are living. We are going to be gone one day.
Kwam just reminded us of what Barack Obama said, and that's that the responsibility of the parent upon the children starts from the home.
Yes, of course, it is from the home. I agree with him. Unless we want to deceive ourselves. I mean, where do you sleep? Is it not at home? Where do you have your bath? Home? Huh? You dress from the home and come out. And when you are going, you go back home and sleep. So everything is home, home, home.
I think this whole talk about this value and moral value, almost everyone is saying that we must go back to inculcating these things in our school. There's little, yes, there's so much there's so much the parents can do, but again, if we have a mix of the parents and the school helping
from the kindergarten.
From the kindergarten, yes, as Kevin Laskin said, it will go a long way. Some of the problems started with our religious leaders who thought, who taught us that our culture is evil. Parents now pay for special centers for their children. That's another person sending in this. No name on this.
Well, our culture is not evil. I wouldn't buy that at all. Before we left Nigeria for India, the Indian High Commission came to talk to us and told us what we see in Indian films is not what we are going to see when we get to India.
More like an orientation about their culture.
He was right. Right from the Air India aircraft that took us from Rome to Bombay, we started seeing changes. When we got to India, the first Sunday we were allowed to go out, if in their bus there are 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces, it's totally reserved for women because they have this culture in some parts of India, not all. We were in the southern part of India, and I went to sit down on the vacant seat, and the lady who was there started screaming. I didn't know what she was screaming about. I couldn't understand. Then the conductor came to me and tapped my shoulder and said I should get up. I said, why? He said it's for Lariki. Lariki means lady. So I got up. That was not all. We came down from the bus and we were walking in the street, and when you see women coming in front of you, she will go and change path. It was strange to us. That's what we were, how our system at home. And they worship a cow, they worship snake, they worship anything. But the highest of their Lord is Lord Krishna.
Yeah.
And they respect each other's religion. If you are a neighbor, like you're a Muslim, I'm a Christian now. I mean, I just cannot, and I worship cow or goat or ram. I mean, you better go and do your salah somewhere else, because if the moment you put knife in the throat of a ram next door to you, it's like you're insulting my God.
So let's. I think. By the way, I think India they have an interesting tradition. Yes, I by the way, I did Indian philosophy. Yeah. Good. Yes, and all of these things you talked about, fantastic, and they have a lot that Africans can also learn from.
Yes,
because they never look back in highlighting their culture
at all,
and religion and beliefs.
You remember their prime minister when he died? I mean, when they became independent on the 15th of August 1947. On the eve of that independence, when they took over from Britain, he decided that they will be living with what they have in India. Their clothes, India, everything. They believe in it.
Absolutely. So now let's run in the next 5 minutes. Start talking about all the solutions. Many people have started giving their own, and of course we've read them. This other one here from Rigowuchi says, "Good afternoon, Sulaiman. Greetings to Commander Sosan. We lost it when we stopped disciplining our children, when teachers were harassed for disciplining children in schools.
He's right.
When we started showing I don't care attitude when we see our neighbors' children misbehaving. And this other one here says the solution should start from school and the home. Children these days do what their teachers said they should do. The discipline children get from school plays a big role in the home. This is from Stanley in Okota. So we'll let Commander Sosan tell us his own solutions to some of this. If time permits, we might bring this conversation pretty much later again, but let's start talking about the way forward. There is a better future, I guess.
There is a better future. There is a better future for parenting. You understand me? If we actually don't favor these children, seeing they are doing something wrong, we should not be afraid of correcting them. I mean, let that child not give me whatever he or she wants to give me. I won't call cow brother because I want to eat the meat. It's an adage in Yoruba language. I will not do that. I will make sure you do the right thing and at the right time. And like that gentleman said, home and school, not only those two, the religious churches and mosques. Most of our, like I told you, we mix with ourselves. I don't know who is this or who is that. If only we can start discriminating amongst ourselves. This thing has entered into us like a canker worm. We discriminate on religion. Even in this same Christendom, like even the Christians discriminate amongst themselves. This mode of worship is not the right thing. This is the correct way to do the mode of worship. Well, we're all forgetting that both the Christian and the Muslim, there is only one God that we are calling. My conclusion to this, Sulaiman, is that let every home be full of prayers and hope. Let wherever children or people go to, let them look back. Like I tell people, when you stand in the middle of the market, look ahead of you. You see somebody that is more than higher than you. You see somebody that is you are equal to. You see somebody that is not up to you. Turn to the east, west, and south. Same thing you see. So what are we actually fighting? Why can't we make this society be good? The society has to. The society has to be good. It's a pity that a forum where parents can be made, even if we are 100, 200 million, let them get 50 million parents. Let them sit down together and let's talk. Let everybody look back. I can tell you some people will be touched because you know where you have derailed. We have failed. Children look at their parents in the eyes and answer them back. What they do? In my days, you can't go out. If I have a party next Saturday, I must tell them today. I can't come today and say I'm dressed. Where are you going? I'm going to party. You can't go anywhere. But these days they will go and come back at any time. And nobody's there. What is a mother that you gave birth to? And you carry this child for 9 months, gave birth to this child, suckled this child, and then what has that child got that is you don't have? Why must you pet this child? What is that child giving you that you haven't seen before he or she was born? That's our major problem. Let us think of the future of our children. We are going and we are going to be going.
I think it's a fine place for us to I'm not going to use the word wrap up. It's a fine place for us to take a break, because we'll come back to this show.
Yes.
You remember when we had all our conversations in the year 2020 leading up to this very day? We kept talking about this because it's very important that we sustain, and bring back, in some cases, our lost values. It is by so doing we'll have people who will ultimately get into the leadership recruitment process that will become our leaders tomorrow. That will not, we don't want to have too many bad people, drive the country into destruction.
Yes.
If the home is not well programmed and enlightened and educated and well cultured, that is the only time we'll have someone who is maybe a politician, as we've seen in that very viral video, a politician, trying to debase a woman publicly. So I'd like to thank you for your time, Commander Sosan. Thank you for your time, and thank you for sharing with us some vital and personal moments of your life. We pray God continue to grant you the best of health.
Amen.
We want to see more of you, learn from you, and of course for Pa Oluseyi, who also sent in a message. He's over 70. Thank you, Pa Oluseyi, for sending that message, and to all those who didn't send their messages, I want to say thank you so much for leading the path for us to come, and we're hoping that where we have derailed, we'll go back and make corrections and amend.
By the special grace.
Yes, thank you very much, and to our listeners and our viewers, many thanks for being such nice company. It's been a fantastic one for me, and more so for you as well, looking at the plethora of messages, even those that we've not been able to take. The Discourse returns again next week Sunday here on Classic FM. I'm Sulaiman Alede. Bye-bye.